Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Marybeth, and this is our Six Figure Thursdays Speakers Series. As I said, I'm Marybeth with Sustainable Lifestyle Solutions, and if you're tuning into this either live or on the replay, just comment below and give us a hi and let us know where you're coming from today. I'm here today with Jacqueline Wales, and she is a female entrepreneurial advisor, an author, and a keynote speaker. And Jacqueline's all about helping us female entrepreneurs get over our challenges, get out of our own way, get past those limiting beliefs and that fear so we can really become the person, the entrepreneur, have the business that we truly dream and desire and deserve. So thank you so much, Jacqueline, for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Well, it's great to be here, Mary Beth. I'm excited for our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too. I'm so excited about this. So I'll just share a little bit more about Jacqueline. So at 16 years old, Jacqueline fled from her childhood home in a desperate search for happiness. Looking in all the wrong places, she left a trail of abandoned children and a pattern of self-abuse that threatened her life. So powerful. But that's just the beginning of her story. She lived in Scotland, in London, England, the California coast, Paris, Amsterdam, New York, Bali, all over the world. And her life journey has been one of self-discovery, awakening, and that joy in the face of fear. So she believes that being fearless is not the absence of fear, but the courage to take the next step. Jacqueline is an author, as I mentioned, a keynote speaker, a trusted advisor to all and many successful, high achieving women. And she is an unwavering champion for being fearless. Wow. So I just get goosebumps even saying that stuff. So let's start from the beginning. You mentioned that, you fled from your childhood home at 16. That takes powerful guts. That takes some serious courage to do.
Well, it was a case of having grown up in a extremely dysfunctional home with alcoholism, violence, and emotional abuse. By the time I got to age 16, it was very clear to me that this was a place I did not belong. I had been a dreamer all my life. I had, at an early age, thought about traveling the globe, writing books, making music. But at the same time, I didn't have the confidence to be able to pull that off. But I did have the confidence to say, I'm out of here. And so I left Edinburgh, Scotland, and moved to London when I was not quite 17. And when I first arrived there, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anywhere really to live. And I had a boyfriend that promised the moon and gave absolutely nothing. And that lasted probably about 3 days before I was finally, this is not going to work. But nevertheless, it's been one of the threads of my life is that I forced myself into situations that other people would look at and go, wouldn't want to go there. But it felt a lot of the time it was about survival. And I think leaving home at that age really did, without understanding it completely, it was about survival.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's survival. That's still incredible to, at the age of 16, to break out of that and to realize that I can do this on my own, even if it is like you have no idea what you're going to do. You have no idea really where your next step after the next one is going to be. And like you said, you didn't really have any place to live. And so what kind of fear did you feel at that point when you were doing that?
I think the fear of staying home was greater than the fear of going away.
Mm, mm,
I think that's really the bottom line on it. Now, at this stage of my life, I'm in my seventh decade. So, there's been a lot of water under the bridge between then and now. But I think if I really think about it, it was the fear of staying was greater than the fear of leaving.
right, right. I think that's a really good point for all of us to really consider on many things as we experience fear. You know, I'm sure you've worked with so many women in your career. And what kinds of, have you mostly worked with entrepreneurial women? Has that mostly been who you?
That's been a wide variety. I've had women from corporate, I've had entrepreneurs, I've had academics. The defining factor for all of them is they've all been very high achieving, and women who have taken a lot of risks in their life. And I think the reason why they're attracted to me is because clearly I'm somebody who knows what risk is all about, and knows how to challenge yourself to take it to the next level. So, yeah, I mean, entrepreneurial life is all about risk. You know, when I first started my business, which was not until I was in my 50s, without knowing anything about anything, I traveled the globe, I'd written books, I'd made music, I'd raised a family, blah, blah, blah. But I had never started a business before. And when someone suggested that I become a coach, I was like, what do I know about coaching? She said, well, you can go learn. And that's been a big theme in my life, is go learn. And too many of us stop short of the kind of learning necessary to make it work. And I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, and I spent way too much money on stuff that I should not have spent money on, and kept looking for answers in all the wrong places. But through the trial and error process, the failures that happened in my early entrepreneurial career was really what has allowed me to bring my experience, bring everything I know, and be able to work with these entrepreneurial women who struggle with the same things, frankly. Yeah.
We're all so connected, and our experiences are all so similar, I think. And, you know, we feel like we're alone in a lot of these things. And as an entrepreneur, we're solo for the first however much time in our business before we're at a place where we can hire people. Mm-hmm. So you are doing this on your own. And so feeling that and knowing that you're not alone in what you're experiencing, the challenges that you're experiencing, I think is so important and so comforting to really realize that.
Yeah, it's just, you've got a community. This is what we're talking on right now. And the community is really, really important. And it doesn't matter how elevated your business becomes, you still need community. You need that support. You need people who not only give you support, but create accountability for you too. Because we can all talk a good talk, but are you actually taking the action steps necessary to keep moving forward? Now, I talk a lot in my work and in my books too about the idea of playing small. And too many women specifically play small. They have all kinds of ways in which they kind of, keep their voice down, don't make the right decisions, don't take ownership of who they are and what they're really capable of, and eventually establish whatever it is that they want to do. So you're all about creating this six-figure business, but a six-figure business demands that you take a lot of risks in order to see whether that will work or not. And frequently fear gets in the way, because the fundamentals of fear is that we feel like we're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's a big piece for most of my clients, frankly. Even if you're successful, there's still that little voice inside of you that goes, yeah, right, maybe you can't do that. And I understand that, because that was very much a big piece of my life for a long time. People would say, you have such a big personality. How come you're playing so small? They would actually say that. And I would look at them and go, but I'm not really. No. But the truth of the matter was, I was. The fear of playing larger than I thought I was capable of was the place that created a lot of fear. But I also take the approach that fear, and this is something I've learned over my lifetime, fear matters to your success. And why? Because it is a driver for growth. Whenever fear shows up, that's your alarm bell. That's the place you have to look at a little bit deeply to say what. Because here's the thing about fear. Fear is the stories we tell ourselves.
Mm.
Simple. It's the stories we tell ourselves. Do you have empirical evidence for your fears? 9 times out of 10, you don't. Simply a story. So examine the story, examine the beliefs behind the story, and then you start to find the true answers of what it is that really matters to you. And then you can take your game out to a much bigger and higher level.
That's really powerful insight. I know that when I work with myself and with my clients too, as you said, that growing a six-figure business in my program, we start around mindset,
Mm.
because if you want to have that six-figure business, your mindset is so important. And as you said, a lot of it really comes down to that feeling of worthiness, that
Mm.
feeling of I can do this or I can't. And so I always tell my clients that, our minds are so powerful, and what we tell ourselves comes true, and it is our reality. So if you think you can, if you think you can't, either way, you're right.
That's right. And that was, I think it was either Henry Ford or Thomas Edison who made that statement originally. But yeah, either way, you're right. And it always comes down to choices. What choices are you making? Now, one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people is a fear of failure.
Mm.
And as an entrepreneur, you better absolutely keep in mind you're going to fail a lot before you finally get to success. And I like to say we're failing our way to success. And if we allow the fear of failure to stop you in your tracks, then you're missing the point. Because here's the thing about failure, it's very simple. It's a choice, an expectation, or a decision that didn't go the way you had planned. So, given that that's the fundamentals of a failure, what's the action that takes place? Well, I like to say there's only one word, and that's next. What did you learn? What can you do to take that failure and turn it into something else? Because failure is simply that, a choice, a decision, or an expectation that did not go the way that you'd planned. What's the worst thing that can happen? Did it kill you? No. Did it cost you some money? Yeah, possibly. Has it changed the direction of where you think you were going? Yeah, probably. So use that as an opportunity to elevate and escalate everything that you really want to get out of your life.
And I resonate so much with that. I know the first couple years that I was in business, I would try something, even the little things like putting a social media post out there, and I didn't get any likes or comments or anything on it. And I would just feel like everybody hates me, or I'm not good enough for this, or everybody might be laughing at me, or whatever that might be. Or, you put your first master class out or your first program and you don't get anybody to sign up. That whole idea of I can't do this, those negative limiting thoughts that come through, and the fears then that come up, that brings to the surface, and then that story, that rhetoric in your mind that is going around and around, that you're not good enough, you can't do this.
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
totally resonate with you saying like fear, like failure is so important. And I've really come to embrace that in business. It's still hard when things don't go the way you wanted them to,
Yeah.
but I've really been trying hard for myself and encouraging my clients with that to reflect on that and shift the mindset, shift how we view that. Because what's helped me is to look at everything that I'm doing now in business as an experiment. And I mean, I'm from the sciences originally, so like experimental design and those, like, the idea of trying something, see how it goes, reflecting, reviewing the results, tweaking, and retrying. That's helped me so much to view what I'm doing now as an experiment. And that has helped so much in not feeling like I'm not good enough, not feeling like I'm failing.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is we're all good enough. But
Mhm.
whose measuring stick are you using? And frequently they're using a measuring stick that's based on other people's experiences, other people's models. It might even be some kind of, earlier conditioning that came through parents or teachers or other authority figures in your life. So we have to really be mindful that when we get into that thinking of not being good enough, that there is a piece here that you need to pay attention to. As I said at the beginning, be careful of the stories you tell yourself. Do you want to tell yourself stories of how powerful and awesome you are? Or do you want to tell yourself stories about how useless you are and how you'll never succeed and how, this is a pipe dream and you've got to figure out a different way to go about things? So, your life is a constant iteration. Think of it that way. It's like if I write a book, I'm going to have to write at least 6 or 7 drafts before I'm satisfied that I've created something worthwhile. Meanwhile, we call it the shitty first draft because, yeah, there's a lot of garbage in there and you're going to rip that garbage out. Well, building a business is a bit like the shitty first draft. Your
Mm.
first iteration of that business is never going to be how it's going to end up. I mean, if I had thought about where I'm at today and everything I've created, when I first started out, I would have gone, yeah, right. Yeah, maybe, maybe. And now you look at it and you think, okay, so how many times have you reinvented, redefined, redesigned everything that you're doing? I mean, I just created a whole new brand last year. And I think it's the best brand of my entire career so far. I had to redo all my messaging on my website, which is a brand new website. You've been to my website, you've been to my speaker website. They're two kind of different things, but there was so many details that I continue to work on. My transformational strategies for success online program is a result of work that I did 12 years ago and delivered over time through different modalities, but we eventually took it all. And I say we because I worked with an instructional designer, because you mentioned earlier you need people on your team to really help you take things to the next level. So, we took all of this material and it's pretty significant, and we added a tremendous amount to this online program. So it's powerful and it transforms lives, but as I said, it was another iteration, another redefinition of my work hasn't substantially changed. I've been talking about fear for 17 years now, and we'll continue to talk about it. But the point being is that we have to always be mindful. Today's version isn't tomorrow's version necessarily, and be willing to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable with, I don't know where this is going, but I have a vision and I'm going to see that vision through, and we'll take
Mhm.
it from there. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And that is fearful, right? That is scary to not know, right? Like I have a vision, I have no idea how I'm going to get there because, as you said, the entrepreneurial mind, we really like we are willing to take risks.
Hmm.
And it's a high risk
Yeah.
persona, high risk
And
lifestyle.
you're putting a lot of your resources into it, your time into it. You invest your entire being into it. It becomes everything that you sleep, eat, and breathe. And there are days when we all sit there and we wonder, what the hell was I thinking? And you get those days when you think, I'm pushing all this stuff out, and I still have it, even with everything I've done. You push all this stuff out there, you're trying to connect with people, they're not responding, or they're not responding the way you want them to respond, which is a whole other piece right there. Your marketing messages aren't landing, you're not getting the revenues that you think you should be getting, and it is a roller coaster ride. I mean, I've had lots of lean years in my 17 years where, like, where's the next client? Where is it coming from? And then I've had other years where they've been high six figures, and feel like you're on a real good groove until COVID comes along and pulls a rug out from underneath you, and suddenly you're like, where did everybody go? And you're forced into, like I did, let's redefine again who you are, what you're doing, and approach it from a different direction.
Mhm. Mhm. I just think this conversation is so important for all of us female entrepreneurs to hear this. The idea of rebranding and restructuring and adjusting, shifting, tweaking, improving, all of those things. I know for myself, I've changed my niche, I think 4 times since I started in business. And I feel like I'm feeling good about where I'm at right now, and I'm feeling like I am um, supporting people, and I'm attracting the people that I can help. And I think, once we get to that point, but like you said, who knows where it's going to go from here, right? We know we have this possible goal, but that goal can change. And that was something also for me to realize. I have anxiety. The people that I have been following me for a while, I've been open about that quite a bit, that I have anxiety, and fear is a huge part of anxiety. Like, that's really what comes down to it, is that you are afraid and
Mhm.
worried, and all of the like spiraling thoughts and things like that that happen around the negative talk. And I feel like it's been super important for me to realize that, just like I said, with looking at things as experiments, also not being so locked into any one thing, because, as you said, it'll shift, it'll change.
Mhm.
We improve, we adjust, we tweak, we see what's working, we see what we like. My previous niche that I was working with was it was very rewarding to be able to work with the people that were in that realm. But I came to realize that it wasn't really what my passion was, necessarily what I really wanted to do and how I wanted to serve. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to do more online, less in person, and be able to help more people and touch and improve the lives of more people around the world, not just in my local area. So it's so true that we shift, we change, and having that elasticity, that flexibility in business, I think, is so important for us entrepreneurs to really take a breath into and accept that, because it's so easy to feel so, this is the path, needs to work. Oh my God, it didn't. I suck. I'm not good enough. Like you said, all of those thoughts and things come back in, and then that is holding us back even more from going forward.
Yeah, I mean it's really down to the judge that lives inside of us. There's that harsh critic who, if you take a step wrong, immediately wants to come down on you as, yeah, look at that. There's the example. You're really not as good as you think you are. And when I hear that voice in my head, I always want to ask, who's doing the talking? Because I'll guarantee you that that voice didn't start with you. That voice probably started with somebody else outside who thought they knew better than you, and who thought that they had the authority to tell you how good or bad you are. And, I mean, I like to say, in my life, my father told me for years I would never amount to much. So did I want to prove him wrong on that? Absolutely. But before I could get to that space, I went through an awful long time of believing that all of my actions, and certainly the circumstances of my life bore it out, that I really was a useless human being, and I would never amount to much. But yet at the back of my head, there was always that sense of, you know, basically, I'll show you. I mean, that I had a real FU attitude, frankly.
Yeah.
You. That attitude has served me well over the years. Tell me I can't do something, and I'll turn around and go, watch me.
Yeah.
And
I definitely resonate with that.
yeah, that's an awful lot of the entrepreneurial spirit too. You know, somebody tells you can't do something. Yeah, right. Watch me. And then, of course, you know, you don't reach the levels, the heights that you wanted to reach. And instead of criticizing yourself for it, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. And that's an interesting place to go to. I talk about self-compassion in my work. And it's something I had to learn too, which was, when things are not quite right and you want to listen to that critical voice inside of you, let's think about it. Would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself? The answer is no. No, you'd be gentle with them. You'd be supportive. You would try to make them feel better. Well, why don't we do that for ourselves when we are being hypercritical about our success or lack of it, or our failures, or the areas in which we could do better? Because the truth of the matter is, there's always something you can do better in. Always. I mean, I was just tweaking my website again this morning. I'm a wordsmith. I spend a lot of time with language. And I'm always trying to figure out what's the best language to use on this. And that's not an easy task. It's like I can relate to people very, very well when I'm in person. Try putting it on a website. How many of you listening to this right now are struggling with finding the right language to put on your website so that people feel it's compelling enough for them to go buy whatever it is you got? It's a hard one. And it's one that we continually struggle with. And unless you're working with a brilliant marketer, somebody who really understands how to get down to the core of the messaging, and you're doing it yourself and you don't have those skills, then again, you're going to be in constant iteration. And just allow for that. And here's the other thing I'd like to say about this: stay open and curious. Ask lots of questions. Ask questions about yourself, about your motivation, about what matters to you. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it really what you want to be doing? Like you said, you've created 4 iterations of the businesses that you've been working on. We find out through trial and error. That's life. I mean, you're a scientist too, so you know that. It's literally, let's see if this works. Yeah, that didn't work. Let's go try the next thing. And be open and curious about what does that look like for the next iteration, and then the iteration after that, and so on and so forth. It's a never-ending journey. I'll be honest with you. There's no there. There's simply that next point of access to whatever it is you're trying to create.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good reminder for all of us is that there really isn't a finish line, so to speak. And I think that can be really hard for people that become entrepreneurs. I just love the entrepreneurial spirit, because for myself, for many years, I found it so difficult to work for someone else. And even to get a job with someone else, like they would potentially like my resume, and then I'd go in for the interview and then I wouldn't get the job. This happened so many times. And it was like, okay, why am I not getting the job? And it really came down to a realization that, like, just my personality, my leadership, all of that really is meant to have my own thing, to be that leader, to be that boss, or that owner of a company that is able to structure all of these other things. And I think that was probably coming off when I was working for other people or interviewing for other people or whatever, is they probably felt maybe this person is not as moldable as we want her to be for our company. Maybe she wouldn't be as committed to our company as what we want somebody to be. And it's been so refreshing to me to realize, as I've really embraced entrepreneurialism, to realize that, that whole thing that we were talking about earlier about it, we're not alone. There's so many common threads through us entrepreneurs, and even more specifically female entrepreneurs, and what we deal with in terms of that self-worth, and that the struggle women can have with making money and feeling like they deserve it, and justifying it, and all of the things that can come through around that for females. And becoming an entrepreneur has been so eye-opening for me that, wow, I'm not alone with all of these things, and this is normal. I love what you said about, like, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly having to learn. And I feel like that's another indication for me that I'm in the right place, because I love to grow. I love to learn. I'm always trying to do personal development programs, business development programs. That's one of, like, maybe my toxic trait is to agree to too many programs or want to take too many programs, because it's like, okay, I actually have to spend time on my business too. So, but I want to always be learning. So
Yeah.
I think that that's really a common thing as well.
And it is. And we also as entrepreneurs have to be very mindful of the bright, shiny objects, because the bright, shiny objects can get us in trouble. And to your point, God knows I've taken enough programs that I never finished, programs that I never should have taken in the first place, spent way too much money on stuff that wasn't applicable to where I was at any given time. There's a multitude of ways in which we can get caught up in the bright, shiny objects. So you have to be very focused on what it is that really matters to you and will drive the needle forward. So, think about, as an entrepreneur, I'm pretty sure you're not alone. I'm definitely not alone. We've spent thousands of dollars in ways that if we had a dollar for every thousand that we've wasted, yeah, we'd probably be better off at this point in time, because it was the bright, shiny object. Somebody came along and said, I got this program. I think it will be really helpful to you. Yeah, it will. Wow. Let's go find the magic bullet. Yeah, there's no magic bullets. It's just simply show up, do the work, and stay focused on what matters to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. So, what do you find is, these common threads that we're talking about that female entrepreneurs have? What do you feel like is maybe the top four of the limiting beliefs, or the things that are holding people back? What would you say are those top four things?
Number one is I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's self-doubt, lack of confidence, low self-esteem. These are fundamental pieces right there. And so you have to work on improving your analysis and your definition of who you are. It's something I really care deeply about, is that most people don't know who they are. Most people have never taken the time to truly investigate, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what is it that I really care about, what's my why, and not just the why, but what about that matters. There's a whole lot of deep questions that need to be asked, and of course that's what my work is all about, is getting you to ask those really deep questions. People are always saying, I'm looking for answers, and I go, no, you're looking for really good questions, because that will unlock the answers for you. And that's what I've spent most of my career developing, is the right kind of questions. So question yourself, be willing to check it out, because I guarantee you're nowhere near as negative and as bad as you think you are. You're a whole lot better. And that's number one. Number two is, when that fear shows up in your life, no matter what it is that's going on, ask yourself, do you have empirical evidence for it? And if you don't have any empirical evidence, it's just a story. It's a story you're telling yourself, whether it's about story that's going on right now, or whether it's a story of the future. Unless you've got some real hard level evidence, change the story. Another piece that I would give to you is learn how to be in self-compassion. When you don't quite meet, you miss the mark, give yourself some love. That's really, really important. Self-love is very, very important. Self-care is really important too. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we work ourselves to the bone, frankly. Too many hours on the computer, too many hours thinking about stuff, too many hours worrying about and not taking care of ourselves. That means nutrition, exercise, time off. Switch it off, turn it off. Your weekends are your weekends. Give yourself the gift of time, because that's where we get some of our best ideas, when we're relaxed and we're looking for whatever, or not looking for it, should I say, is a very big piece of it. And lastly, I would say gratitude. Be grateful for what you got. Be grateful for everyone and everything that is coming into your life, even if it looks like it's not really good stuff. There's something in there that you can be grateful for. And gratitude is a big, big piece. And I've found as I've gotten older, I've been keeping a gratitude journal for years, but I've just accelerated it recently because of some coaching I've been getting, where the gratitude stuff is blown out of the water, frankly. I mean, I'm doing it twice a day at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite remarkable, the changes that take place when you live in gratitude for everything. Even if you don't have enough money, be grateful for what money you do have. If you don't have the right kind of clients, be grateful for the ones that you've got currently. If you don't have the interest in what you're doing, be grateful for the interest that you are getting at this point in time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say, hold on to that. That's really important, because you are doing great work and you're doing meaningful work and you want to make a difference in the world. So keep believing, truly believe that you can make a difference in the world.
Yes, that truly believe that you can make a difference. Breathing into that. We can do it. We are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
One step at a time.
That's right. And when that fear shows up, pay attention. Give it your attention. What is that about? Where am I afraid to go? And what is really getting in the way here? Self-belief, and it's a big piece of my transformational strategies for success program. When we can sit down and examine our self-beliefs, you'll find that many of them are absolutely not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, many things are not true. Like you said, that evidence. Is there evidence around what we're thinking or feeling? I know one thing that my counselor had me do a few years ago was, when I'm having all those negative thoughts, she had referred it to a negative thought monster. And I went online and I found this like kind of caricature, like children's coloring book page, and I printed it out, and it's like empty in the middle, and it's just this like kind of almost like a Shrek kind of monster. And I printed it out, and every time I had a negative thought that came through, I would write it down inside of the monster. And eventually, it was so shocking. I still have it as well, because I filled the whole page, even outside of the monster, and I had to print off, I think, 2 more pages to be able to grab. And it was so interesting to see like the recurring ones, because it helped me. It was such a good exercise to help me recognize, oh my God, that's a negative thought. That's not a helpful thought. Be able to put that down. Like you said, when the fear comes, give attention to it, recognize it. In mindfulness, we talk about like that awareness, right? Becoming aware. Oh, I'm having that thought again, or I'm having a negative thought. This is not helpful. Sitting with it, breathing into it, and then either restructuring that thought or just allowing it to pass and watching how that changes then what's happening for you. your outlook, your mindset, everything, that then just allowing yourself to feel that and acknowledging it and letting it go.
And self-awareness is step number one, no matter what. Self-awareness, when you start really digging in, that's the important part. Yeah.
So true. So tell me more about your program. You said you have a program, so tell me more about this.
So my program is designed to highlight who are you, where do you want to go, and what is it that's getting in the way? That's the gap between you and success. What is it that's getting in the way? So I called it Transformational Strategies for Success. It's 11 strategies, but it's more than just a strategy. It's a really deep dive into immersive self-reflection that truly allows you to hold the mirror up to yourself and ask yourself the real hard questions about, who am I? What is it I really want out of life? And most of all, how can I escape this pattern of negative thinking, judgment, criticism, blame, having the wrong attitude, fear of failure, as well as being able to define, what's my purpose? Where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
What's my values, my action steps, my goals? How am I handling my time? And how am I communicating not only who I am, but how am I communicating with other people, and learning how to listen properly and do the things necessary to become a good communicator. And ultimately also learn how to be a good influencer, how to build influence and be an influencer. So I walk people through 11 strategies altogether. And those 11 strategies, as I say, are broken into several dimensions. But ultimately, what it's designed to do is to give you a really clear roadmap for the person that you truly are and the person you want to become. Because, we often think in terms of what we want to do in life. Well, how about who do you want to be in life? That becomes a different question, definitely, but it's also a process of becoming. And that process of becoming is made easier by transformational strategies for success, simply because you get the answers you're looking for by having the right questions, as I said earlier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So learning how to ask those questions, what questions would be good. It sounds transformational, that's for sure. So does the program, can you jump in at any time? Do you have a start-stop date?
There's 3 levels to the program. The first one is the foundational level, and that's all about self-directed. You can work your way through. I have a monthly Q&A, and that one starts at $9.97. But it's also, the second level is called the fearless level, where it's the same program but supported by one-on-one coaching. So the one-on-one coaching keeps you accountable, keeps you on track, and of course, any questions that come up, I'm there for guidance on that. And then we have a third level, which is called the flourish level, and the flourish level is all about everything I just talked about. Plus, we have a monthly peer advisory group that you can be part of. And that's, to your point, you can start this at any time. There's no real limit to when you can start this. It's a 6-month program. I've just had people go through the pilot of this. We're about to launch at the end of this month. And I'm definitely open for business as far as this is concerned. This is going to be the premier launch, shall we say. The pilot went really well. People had remarkable breakthroughs that they did not expect to have. But I always guarantee, here's the thing, it works if you work it. You can't go into this and put your toes in the water. This is a fully immersive program. So if you're really invested in personal growth, you really want to figure out who I am and where is it that I want to go and what really matters to me, and how do I get rid of the BS that's getting in the way of my thinking and behavior right now, this program will absolutely deliver for you. So that's where we're at with that. And you can get to it on my website, transformyourfear.com. Transformyourfear.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. We have so much overlap too with the mindset aspect of things, and that, so it'd be great if there's some way we can collaborate on my program people benefiting from you and vice versa. That'd be awesome. Something great that we could work on together to be able to support both of our communities and what they're doing, and being able to achieve that life, getting over those fears, achieving that life, that business that they really want and desire.
Absolutely. And I would also recommend people check out my books. They're on Amazon, The Fearless Factor at Work, The Fearless Factor. I think you'll find there's good questions in there, and there's a lot of great information that will help as well. But this has been delightful. I really appreciate it being with you today.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's been so nice to be able to dive into this with you, and you are so inspiring. I love everything that you're doing. Your whole journey is just so amazing. So thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone listening or watching the replay, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation. Give us your feedback. Let us know what your takeaways are from this conversation in the comments. Jacqueline and I will respond and get back to you. And I will be back next week with our Six Figure Thursdays with a speaker to be determined. So I'm just lining that up for us. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. It is Thursday. I can't believe it already. And I will see you again soon. Thank you. Thanks again, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Marybeth.